Hello and welcome to this demo. Okay, the virtual machine is now powered off. I will now right click on it and select clone. And in the new virtual machine page, I'm going to give it a name. So the first clone is going to be the Ansible master. So I'm going to name it as Ansible controller. And make sure that you check the reset MAC address option because I need a new MAC address for all my virtual machines. In the next page, I'm going to make sure I select a linked clone. A linked clone will basically is space saving. It does not consume the entire, it does not clone the entire virtual machine, so it does not consume that much space. I'm now going to click on clone to create a clone of the virtual machine. So I now have the Ansible controller, and I'm going to create another clone for the Ansible target. For the first Ansible target, I will name it as Ansible-target1. I'll make sure I check the initialize MAC address option, and I will select the linked clone. So now I have a template, I have a I have an Ansible controller and an Ansible target. I will now power up the Ansible controller and the Ansible target. Once they're powered on, I will log into it using the OS Boxes password. I will open a terminal and run the ifconfig command to find out the IP address. Now the reason I find out the IP address and establish an SSH connection is that I find it very easy to work with these virtual machines over an SSH session rather than through this terminal window. That way I can easily copy and paste commands. Okay, I will now establish an SSH session to my Ansible master. The IP address is 192.168.1.113. The username is OS Boxes. This time I will name the session as Ansible-controller. Okay, so I'm logged in. I will also establish a session to my target machine, which is at 192.168.1.114, and I will name the session as Ansible Target 1. Okay, so I now have a session to the controller and the target. The next step is to rename the host. As you can see, both my controller and target are named as OS boxes. I'd like to name the controller as controller and the target as target. So the first step is to modify the /etc/hostname file. If you look inside the file, it is currently OS boxes, so I'm going to remove that and replace it with the name that I want, which is Ansible controller. I'm now going to save that, and the other place to modify is the etc hosts file. So I'm going to edit the /etc/hosts file, and I'll get rid of whatever is already there and replace it with the name that I want it to have. I will leave the local host part as it is, and I can now restart my system. I will repeat the same steps for the target 1 system. Okay, I will now restart my system. Now we're going to duplicate what we did with target 1. We'll create another clone called target 2. Make sure we reinitialize the MAC address and select linked clone as the option for clone type. And then we will power on the target 2 machine. Once it's powered on, we will log into it, open a terminal, and find the IP address of it. In this case, it is 192.168.1.115. We will now establish an SSH connection to the system from my SSH terminal, and I will name the session as Ansible-target2. I will now edit the host name to target2, We will shut it down and wait for it to come back up. I will now establish connectivity to my systems again. And as you can see, the name is applied. I can now see it as Ansible-controller. So the next step is to install Ansible on the Ansible controller. If you go to the Ansible documentation site and look at the installation guide, you will see instructions for installing Ansible on various operating systems. If you look at the instructions under CentOS, you can see that it's as simple as running the command yum install Ansible. So I'm just going to copy that and execute that on my CentOS system and provide the confirmation to install the packages. Okay, once completed, you can run the Ansible -- version command to confirm that Ansible is installed and to confirm the version of the Ansible installed on this system. So that concludes the Ansible installation part.